But they believed her narrative instantly because the allegations were so strong. And I just kind of held fire because I don't trust the New York Times to save my life, okay? And that's largely due to the fact that she is a modern feminist. And so she has to create struggle where there just isn't any, okay?
There's just so much more to this story, and the media's already like self-flagellating. Oh, we were too mean to Blake. And now you see
this is about that narrative that I think they instantly started spinning. I believe that they are going to be able to prove in court that this was personal.
It started like any ordinary day in Hollywood, the sun glinting off the sleek studio lots, assistants buzzing through call sheets, and PR teams brewing coffee and damage control in equal measure. But beneath the glimmer, a storm had begun to churn. Not a scandal. Not a tabloid tiff. This was something bigger. Something heavier. The kind of chaos that doesn't just shake the industry, it redefines it. Whispers turned to headlines, and headlines turned to wild speculation. Disney had reportedly fired not one, but two of its crown jewels, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. The names alone sounded like box office gold. Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel's most bankable bromance, suddenly cut loose by the House of Mouse. But why? The trail, like any good mystery, didn't begin at the scene of the crime. It reached back, twisting and turning through personal relationships, lawsuits, leaked receipts, and one woman at the center of the storm. Blake Lively. To the outside world, Blake had always appeared untouchable. Gossip Girl royalty turned red carpet goddess, married to Reynolds, best friend to Taylor Swift, and effortlessly floating through life like she was born in a Chanel campaign. But behind the scenes, the facade was crumbling. It began quietly, with murmurs about the set of It Ends With Us, a film adaptation of a novel exploring domestic violence, ironically marred by off-screen accusations. Justin Baldoni, the film's director and producer, beloved by many for his emotional depth and clean-cut charm, was suddenly under fire. Lively, who starred in the film, allegedly began taking issue with the creative process. Depending on who you ask, she wasn't just raising concerns, she was trying to take over. And then, like a spark to dry timber, everything ignited. Baldoni's legal team began to fight back. Their claims that Lively, along with her husband Reynolds, had alleged,
and to the point where this guy was in the basement at his own movie's premiere. And that what in fact happened was you guys were the ones out there.
You did not know both of their lawsuits had been consolidated into one legal showdown instead of these.
She's the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
Worked with a prominent publication, the New York Times, to orchestrate a smear campaign. A Hollywood takedown. The kind of thing most people only read about in unauthorized biographies or whispered parties. But now, it was playing out in real time, and the receipts were hotter than anyone expected. Hundreds, possibly thousands, of messages were reportedly reviewed. Texts, emails, internal memos. Some public, some obtained by methods no one wants to discuss out loud. The story took on a life of its own. What was first thought to be a squabble over artistic control morphed into an alleged web of manipulation, media planting, and betrayal. And at the epicenter, Ryan Reynolds. Reynolds, long the internet's favorite funny man, a charming philanthropist, and everyone's imaginary best friend, was now being painted in a radically different light. His alleged involvement in the media narrative, coupled with text exchanges with Disney higher-ups, raised more than a few eyebrows. Some claimed he had used his considerable influence to push Lively's version of events, shielding her while quietly undermining Baldoni. Others insisted he was simply protecting his wife. But then, why did Baldoni's legal team have so much damning material? Why did the media narrative shift so rapidly? Then came the hammer blow. Disney, famous for its tightly sealed vault of public image and PR perfection, allegedly acted swiftly behind the scenes. According to insider chatter, the company feared that being connected to this brewing legal disaster could damage their family-friendly empire. And so, in a move that left Hollywood stunned, they reportedly dropped both Reynolds and Jackman. For Jackman, it was an even harder pill to swallow. The Australian star had long been one of the industry's most respected figures. Known for his discipline, humility, and pure talent, He seemed untouchable. He was the Broadway sensation who could also slice villains in half with adamantium claws. But somehow, he too had allegedly become entangled in the mess, possibly by association with Reynolds, or perhaps more deeply than anyone realized. Baldoni's legal filings reportedly mention interactions that involved Jackman in crucial decisions, casting doubt on how neutral his involvement really was. And as if that wasn't enough, a shocking rumor surfaced. Disney had consolidated two separate lawsuits, one involving Lively's claims, and one allegedly defending Baldoni, into a single, sprawling legal showdown. That meant one thing. The stakes weren't just personal anymore. They were existential. Brand survival. Franchise futures. Billion-dollar legacies. As news spread, fans were left reeling. Online, Reynolds supporters demanded transparency, while critics unearthed every past moment that now seemed to take on new meaning. Jackman loyalists refused to believe the claims. Marvel stans began asking, what happens to Deadpool 3? How does the MCU recover if both stars are really gone?
The conclusion here, I have said this since before, long before this ever broke out between her and Justin Baldoni.
The kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, documents, which prove exactly what she did.
Gone. Meanwhile, Blake Lively remained strikingly silent. Some believe it's part of a PR strategy. Keep calm, let others burn. Others say it's guilt. Either way, her image, once pristine, is now under intense scrutiny. Accusations swirled. Had she exaggerated claims to gain control over a film? Did she, as Baldoni's team insists, leverage feminist narratives for corporate advantage? Or was she genuinely fighting back against a hostile work environment? One thing's for certain, this wasn't just a feud. It was a reckoning. Back on the ground, Baldoni's own narrative grew stronger. Once dismissed as collateral damage, he emerged with surprising strength, pushing back against what he called a Hollywood smear machine. His camp released communications, timestamps, and legal statements that, if proven legitimate, could force massive shifts in how the entertainment industry handles internal disputes. Baldoni didn't just defend himself. He exposed the very system that nearly erased him. And what about the New York Times? Their involvement raised eyebrows too. Their timing, publishing Lively's full civil complaint just 24 hours after it was filed, led to questions of collusion. Did they knowingly take sides? Or were they manipulated? Critics said it was a hit job. Others praised it as journalism doing its job. But the public had already made up its mind. The trust in traditional narratives was eroding. By this point, Disney had no choice but to act. Silent boardrooms turned into battlegrounds. Executives debated damage control. Could they support their talent? Or should they cut ties before the media frenzy dragged the company's carefully built image through the mud? In the end, if rumors are true, they chose the latter. Reynolds and Jackman were reportedly shown the door. No official statements. No press release. Just a quiet, deliberate distance. A studio bracing for fallout and hoping the public would forget before the next quarterly earnings call. But Hollywood never forgets. And in the shadows, everyone's asking the same question. What happens now? Will Reynolds recover his image? Or will the rumors stick like glue? Can Jackman find a new chapter away from the claws of Wolverine? Will Lively emerge as a warrior or a manipulator? And is Baldoni a whistleblower, or just another player in a much darker game? This story is far from over. The lawsuits are ongoing. The receipts are still dropping. And Disney, once considered untouchable, may have just opened Pandora's box. Because in Tinseltown, the most dangerous weapon isn't power. It's the truth. And the truth, once released, has a funny way of never going back in the bottle.